Humiliated in the ring, the Omega transforms, the Alpha King bows to the white Lycan. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. Alana Cross had never been the type to back down from a challenge, even when the odds were stacked against her. But here, in the center of the grand arena, the odds were more unforgiving than ever. She was an Omega, one of the weakest ranks in the werewolf society, surrounded by a sea of alphas and betas, each of them stronger, faster, more confident than her. The crowd roared as the duel began, their chants echoing off the stone walls. Alana's opponent, a young alpha with a smug grin on his face, circled her, his muscles rippling beneath his skin. He was eager to show off, eager to humiliate her in front of everyone. Alana felt the weight of his gaze, and the sting of countless whispers from the pack members sitting in the stands. The alphas looked at her with disdain, the betas with pity. They all knew what she was, a broken Omega, without a wolf's true power, without a place among them. She couldn't shift. Her body was incapable of transforming, and her scent was nothing more than an invisible mist to the other wolves. To them, she was invisible, a useless nobody who didn't belong. The match started, and Alana's opponent lunged at her with the speed of a predator. She barely managed to dodge his first strike, her body moving on instinct more than skill. She swung back, but her blows were weak, clumsy. He laughed, the sound cold and mocking. The crowd joined in, their laughter like a cruel storm that swept over her. Alana's heart pounded in her chest, her breath coming in short gasps. She could feel the humiliation burn on her skin, the eyes of every wolf in the arena focused on her. She was nothing. Her opponent taunted her, pushing her back with ease. "Come on, Omega. Show me what you've got," he sneered, landing another blow that knocked her to the ground. Alana's body ached, but it wasn't just physical pain she felt, it was the weight of being seen as nothing. She was humiliated, her pride shattered, but there was still a flicker of defiance in her eyes. As she struggled to rise, something deep within her stirred. A surge of power, unfamiliar and raw, coursed through her veins. She had never felt this before, this feeling of strength awakening inside her. Her pulse quickened, her vision sharpening. Alana's eyes flashed with a new light, her body responding to the instinct she had buried for so long. She could feel the change happening, like a dam breaking, unleashing a flood of energy she had kept hidden all her life. Her hands clenched into fists, and when she stood, her legs no longer trembled beneath her. The crowd quieted, sensing the shift in the air. Alana's opponent hesitated, his grin faltering as he took a step back, uncertain of the force standing before him. With a swift movement, Alana launched herself forward, her body moving with a speed and grace she never thought possible. She struck him with the power of an alpha's blow, sending him crashing to the ground. The arena fell silent. Alana stood over him, her chest heaving with the intensity of the moment. She had done it. She had fought back. And for the first time, she felt like she belonged in the arena. The crowd gasped, their disbelief turning into admiration. Alana's heart raced, not from fear, but from the exhilaration of finally being seen, not as an Omega, but as someone worthy of respect. In the stands, watching intently, was Damon Thorn, the Alpha King. His piercing eyes, cold and calculating, observed Alana with a mixture of surprise and interest. He had come here today for a different reason, but now, he found himself captivated by the Omega who had just proven her strength. As the match ended and the crowd erupted into applause, Damon stood, his expression unreadable. His thoughts were far from the cheers around him. He could sense something in Alana, a power that went beyond the ordinary, a force that had just begun to awaken. It wasn't just the fight that intrigued him, it was her. The white Lycan. He had heard the whispers, the stories of a rare, powerful Omega who could change the fate of any pack. He didn't know it then, but Alana was that Omega. And she had just begun to show her true power. Damon's gaze never left her. Alana, now standing tall and proud, had no idea that her life was about to change forever. The Alpha King had seen her. And he was coming for her. The night after the match, Alana Cross sat alone in her small quarters, the silence of the room pressing in on her. Her body still ached from the battle, but the thrill of victory kept her wide awake. She had never felt such power coursing through her veins before. The Omega who had been laughed at, the one who was seen as weak, had just risen to something more. She could feel it, the change inside her. It was as if her true self had finally awakened after years of hiding in the shadows. But even with this new strength, a part of her still couldn't shake the nagging feeling of uncertainty. Had she truly earned the respect she had gained, or was it a fleeting moment? Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. She didn't need to ask who it was. Damon Thorne, the Alpha King, stood outside, his presence felt even through the door. She had seen his eyes in the stands, watching her every move, and something about the way he had looked at her made her heart race. She wasn't sure what he wanted, but she knew that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't predict. She opened the door to find Damon standing there, his imposing figure framed by the doorway. His sharp eyes softened when they met hers, and for the first time, she saw something other than cold calculation in his gaze. "You did well today," he said, his voice low but steady. Alana tried to hide the flutter in her chest at his words. "Thank you, Your Majesty." She stepped back, allowing him into the room. Damon's gaze flicked around the small space, taking in the humble surroundings. "You don't belong here," he said, his voice tinged with something close to admiration. "Not in a place like this, with people who can't see your worth." Alana couldn't help but look down, feeling the weight of his words. "I'm just an Omega," she replied quietly. "I don't know if I'll ever be more than that." Damon stepped closer, his presence overwhelming yet comforting. "You've already proven yourself to be more than what they believe you are. That fight today, it was just the beginning." He paused for a moment, his gaze locking with hers. "I see something in you, Alana. Something rare." Alana's breath caught in her throat. "What do you mean?" Damon's expression shifted, and for a moment, there was a flicker of something deeper in his eyes. "I've been watching you for a long time. You've got strength, but you also have something that most wolves don't, an untapped power that could change everything." Alana shook her head, unsure of what he meant. "I don't understand. I'm just me." Damon smiled faintly, almost sadly. "That's what makes you dangerous." Alana didn't know what to say to that, so she remained silent. She had always felt like she was never enough, never strong enough, and certainly never deserving of the attention of someone like Damon. He was the Alpha King, a man who could have anyone. Why was he even looking at her like this? As if sensing her confusion, Damon placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch sending a jolt of warmth through her. "I want to offer you a choice, Alana," he said softly. "You don't have to stay here, not in this pack, not in this small life. You could have a new place, a new role, one where you're not limited by the labels they've placed on you." Alana's heart skipped a beat, and she looked up at him, the weight of his words settling in. "What are you saying?" Damon's eyes were steady, unwavering. "I want you to come with me. To my pack. To my side. You belong with me, Alana. Together, we could change everything. For you, for me, for all of us." Alana's mind raced as she processed his words. She had always been an outsider, always felt like she didn't belong anywhere. But this offer, this chance to leave behind everything she had known, seemed like a dream. Was she ready to step into the unknown? Was she ready to accept a role that could change her life forever? Before she could answer, Damon added, "I'm not asking you to decide now. Take your time. But know this, Alana, whatever you choose, your life will never be the same again." With that, Damon turned and left the room, leaving Alana alone with her thoughts. As the door clicked shut, she felt the weight of his words settle deep within her. She had always wondered what her life could be if she had the chance to prove herself. Now, that chance was within reach. And with it, a new future. A future with Damon Thorne, the Alpha King. And whatever that future held, she knew one thing for sure, it would be nothing like the life she had lived before. Alana sat in the quiet of her room, the evening sky casting long shadows through the window. Her heart raced, still unable to believe the conversation she had with Damon earlier. The offer he had given her weighed heavily on her mind. Her whole life, she had been told she was nothing more than an omega, weak and insignificant. But now, the Alpha King, the most powerful wolf in all the territories, had seen something in her. He had offered her a chance at a new life, one where she was not limited by the cruel labels others had placed on her. She could hardly wrap her mind around the possibility. Was it really possible for someone like her to stand beside Damon Thorne, to walk with him as an equal? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock at the door. Alana's heart skipped a beat. She knew who it was. Without waiting for her response, the door opened, and Damon stepped inside, his presence filling the small room. He stood for a moment, watching her, as though gauging her every thought. "I wanted to give you some time to think," he said, his voice low and steady. "But I need to know, Alana. What do you want?" She stood up slowly, her hands trembling slightly. She wanted to say so many things, to pour out the confusion, the uncertainty, and the fear that had gripped her since the moment she had agreed to this journey with him. But instead, the words that came out were simple. "I don't know." Damon's gaze softened, and for the first time, Alana saw a flicker of something familiar in his eyes, understanding. "It's okay to be uncertain," he said gently. "But I need you to understand one thing, this decision is yours. Whatever happens, wherever you go, I will not force you. You have a place in my world if you choose it. You always will." His words sent a rush of emotions through her. The idea of standing by his side, of leaving everything behind, was both thrilling and terrifying. But what did it really mean? Would she be strong enough to stand tall next to him, or would she always be the weak omega she had been before? She opened her mouth to speak, but the words failed her. Her mind was racing, a thousand thoughts colliding in confusion. Damon seemed to sense her hesitation. He stepped closer, his presence so commanding yet gentle. "You've already proven your strength," he said. "Today, you showed the world what you're capable of. But it's not just strength that matters. It's knowing who you are, and choosing to embrace it, no matter what anyone else thinks." Alana took a deep breath, the weight of his words settling in her chest. Could she really embrace who she was becoming, and leave behind all the doubts that had held her back for so long? Could she accept this chance, this new life, with Damon? She looked up at him, her heart still racing, but now with a sense of clarity she hadn't felt before. "I don't want to be what they say I am," she whispered. Damon's eyes softened, and he reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "You are not what they say. You are what you choose to be." The words felt like a promise, a binding oath between them. Alana nodded slowly, the uncertainty in her heart giving way to something new, something stronger. She took a step forward, toward Damon. "I will go with you," she said, her voice steady for the first time. Damon smiled, and in that moment, Alana knew that this was just the beginning. She was no longer just an omega. She was something more. And with Damon by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. Alana had barely processed her decision when Damon took her by the hand, leading her out of the small quarters and into the bustling streets of the Pax territory. The air was crisp, the evening breeze carrying the scent of pine and earth, but Alana could hardly focus on the surroundings. Her thoughts were consumed by the choice she had just made. She was going with him, leaving everything she knew behind. Damon's hand, warm and steady, was a stark contrast to her own trembling fingers. He didn't speak as they walked, but his presence beside her gave her a strange sense of comfort, like she wasn't alone in this moment. The Pax capital, a sprawling city surrounded by thick forests, came into view as they made their way through the outer gates. The tall stone walls and towering buildings were a sharp reminder of the world she was about to step into. It felt so foreign, so grand compared to the quiet, modest life she had led. "Are you sure about this?" Damon's voice broke through her thoughts. She looked up at him, the Alpha King's expression unreadable. "Yes," she replied, her voice firmer than she felt. "I'm sure." Damon nodded, though there was a trace of something unreadable in his eyes. They continued walking in silence, the weight of the decision settling deeper in Alana's chest with every step. They reached a large, ornate carriage waiting for them at the city gates. The coachman, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a stern expression, opened the door for them. "Where are we going?" Alana asked as she stepped into the carriage, her eyes glancing at Damon. He followed her inside, his presence filling the space. "To my castle," he said simply. "There's much we need to discuss." Alana sat across from him, trying to steady her breathing as the carriage began its journey through the heart of the capital. The city passed by in a blur, grand buildings, busy streets filled with people of all kinds, and the distant sound of wolves howling in the distance. It was a world so different from the one she had known. She couldn't help but wonder what life would be like at Damon's castle. Would she be accepted there? Or would she forever feel like an outsider? Damon seemed to sense her unease. He leaned forward slightly, his intense gaze meeting hers. "You're not an outsider here, Alana," he said softly, his voice carrying a weight of reassurance. "You belong." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten. She had never belonged anywhere, not truly. She had always been an outcast in her own pack, viewed as weak and unworthy. But here, with Damon, there was a strange sense of possibility. For the first time in a long while, Alana allowed herself to hope. "Thank you," she whispered. Damon's lips twitched into a faint smile. "You'll see. This will be a new beginning for both of us." The carriage ride seemed to last forever, but eventually, they arrived at the castle. Alana gasped as she gazed out the window, her breath catching in her throat. The castle was magnificent, tall, dark stone towers rising high into the sky, with the moonlight casting an ethereal glow on its walls. It was everything she had imagined and more. The doors opened, and Damon stepped out first, extending his hand to help her down. As she stepped onto the stone steps, her heart pounded in her chest. This was it, the moment where her life would change forever. Inside the castle, the grand hall stretched out before her, lined with rich tapestries and glowing sconces. Servants moved quietly through the corridors, their eyes respectfully averted as Damon led Alana deeper into the heart of the castle. He stopped in front of a large set of double doors and turned to face her. "This is your new home," he said, his voice full of quiet certainty. Alana's throat tightened as she looked at the doors before her. This was it. The start of her new life. "Are you ready?" Damon asked. Alana took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Yes," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Damon smiled, his hand gently resting on the door handle. "Then, let's begin." With that, he pushed the doors open, revealing a room that took Alana's breath away. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings, and the moonlight streamed through large windows, illuminating the grand fireplace and the plush furnishings. It was like stepping into a dream. As Damon led her inside, Alana realized that this was no longer just a chance for a new life. It was a chance to finally become who she was meant to be, someone strong, someone worthy. And with Damon by her side, she knew she was no longer the broken Omega she once was. She was something more. Something that belonged. As Damon led Alana through the castle, the enormity of the change hit her. Each step she took echoed in the grand hallway, her heart pounding with both anticipation and uncertainty. The castle was everything she had imagined, yet nothing at all like what she had expected. The walls, adorned with intricate tapestries depicting battles and triumphs of past kings, whispered of a history far older and grander than her own. The flickering torchlight gave the castle an ethereal glow, and the cold stone floors felt both intimidating and strangely comforting underfoot. She glanced around, feeling the weight of her own transformation. She had gone from being the Omega, ignored and cast aside, to being in the presence of the Alpha King, standing at the threshold of a new world. They finally arrived at a set of large doors, and Damon paused, looking back at her. His gaze was steady, but there was something softer in it, something that made her feel like she wasn't just another guest in his life, but a part of it. "This is your new room," he said. "You'll have privacy, but if you need anything, don't hesitate to ask." Alana nodded, her breath catching in her throat. She had been in the castle for only a few hours, but it already felt like an eternity. She stepped inside, her eyes widening as she took in the opulence of her new surroundings. The room was enormous, with high ceilings and large windows that allowed the moonlight to pour in, casting a serene glow on the polished wooden floors. A massive four-poster bed with rich velvet curtains stood against one wall, and the fireplace crackled softly, filling the room with warmth. The furniture was elegant yet understated, giving the room a timeless feel. Alana couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. "It's beautiful," she whispered, almost to herself. Damon stepped into the room behind her, closing the door gently. He didn't say anything at first, allowing her to take in the grandeur of the space. "You deserve this," he finally said, his voice low. "You're not like the others. You don't have to hide here." His words felt like a balm to the wounds she hadn't even realized she had. It had only been a few hours, but already, he made her feel like she mattered. Like she was more than just an Omega. Alana turned to face him, a question rising in her chest. "Why me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I've always been just an Omega, nothing special." Damon looked at her with an intensity that made her heart race. "You're wrong," he said firmly. "You're not just an Omega. You're powerful in ways that others don't understand. I see it in you, Alana." His words were heavy with meaning, and for the first time in her life, she felt truly seen. Not for what others thought she was, but for who she could become. Alana swallowed hard, her emotions threatening to overwhelm her. She had spent so long feeling invisible, but now, with Damon's words, it was as if a door had been opened, revealing a path she never thought possible. She looked down at her hands, still trembling from the weight of her decision. "But what if I'm not ready?" she whispered. "What if I can't live up to what you see in me?" Damon's expression softened, and he stepped closer to her, gently taking her hands in his. "You don't have to be ready, Alana," he said. "I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be yourself. That's all I've ever wanted." His words settled deep within her, and for the first time, Alana allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could be something more. Something powerful. Something worth fighting for. She took a deep breath, looking up at him. "I'm ready," she said, her voice stronger now. "I don't know what comes next, but I'll face it. With you." Damon smiled, a look of approval and something deeper flickering in his eyes. "Good," he said softly. "Because this is just the beginning, Alana. We have a long road ahead, but I promise you, we'll face it together." With that, he turned to leave the room, but before he did, he paused. "Rest well tonight. Tomorrow, we begin your training." Alana watched as he left, the door closing softly behind him. She stood there for a moment, taking in the silence of the room, but this time, it wasn't oppressive. It was the calm before the storm, the quiet before the beginning of something new. She wasn't just an Omega anymore. She was something more. And whatever came next, she was ready to face it head-on. The next morning, Alana woke to the soft glow of dawn filtering through the tall windows of her new room. She had barely slept, her mind racing with the enormity of the change she had made. The bed beneath her was luxurious, the silken sheets soft against her skin. But it wasn't the comfort that kept her awake. It was the weight of the promise she had made to Damon. Today, her training would begin. She had no idea what that would entail, but she knew one thing for sure: her life was about to become very different. She stood and dressed quickly in the simple clothes that had been left for her. The soft leather tunic felt unfamiliar, but practical, and she tied her hair back, preparing herself for whatever Damon had in store. As she stepped into the hallway, she was met by a servant who led her to the courtyard. The air was crisp, the sky still a pale blue as the castle slowly came to life. Damon was already there, standing tall and composed, his eyes scanning the horizon. He turned when he heard her footsteps, a faint smile playing at his lips. "Good morning, Alana," he said, his voice warm but commanding. "Are you ready to begin?" Alana nodded, her heart thudding in her chest. "I'm ready," she said, though a part of her still felt unsure. Damon's gaze softened for a moment, but then he turned and gestured for her to follow him. They walked through the castle grounds, the sound of their footsteps echoing in the quiet morning. Damon led her to a small clearing, the trees surrounding them casting long shadows. It was a peaceful place, but Alana could sense the tension in the air. "This is where you'll start," Damon said, stopping in the center of the clearing. "I've seen the strength in you, Alana, but you need to learn control. You can't harness your power until you understand it." Alana looked at him, confusion clouding her thoughts. "Control?" she asked. Damon nodded. "You've awakened a part of yourself that most Omegas don't even know exists. But with that power comes responsibility. You need to learn how to wield it, how to use it without losing yourself." Alana swallowed, her throat dry. "I don't know how," she admitted. "That's why you're here," Damon replied. "We'll take it one step at a time. The first lesson is understanding the bond between you and your wolf." Alana blinked, surprised. "My wolf?" she asked. "But I've never been able to shift. I don't even know what it feels like to have a wolf inside me." Damon smiled softly. "That's the first thing we'll work on. Your wolf has always been there, Alana. You've just never been able to connect with it. But now, you will. All it takes is focus, and a willingness to listen." He stepped back, giving her space. "Close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Focus on your heartbeat, your breath, and then listen." Alana hesitated for a moment, but then she did as he said. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, feeling the cool air fill her lungs. Her heart beat steadily in her chest, and she focused on the rhythm, the pulse of life within her. At first, there was nothing. Then, she felt it, a stirring deep within her, like a whisper at the edge of her mind. She gasped, her eyes snapping open. "Did you feel that?" Damon asked, his voice low. Alana nodded, a mix of excitement and fear bubbling inside her. "I think I did. It was like something inside me was waking up." Damon's smile widened. "That's your wolf, Alana. She's been waiting for you. Now, all you need to do is learn how to listen to her, and trust her." Alana felt a thrill run through her. She had never felt this way before, so connected, so alive. But she knew it wasn't going to be easy. "How do I trust her?" she asked, her voice small. Damon walked over to her, standing close. "It's about surrender, Alana. You can't force it. You need to let go of the fear and trust that your wolf knows what she's doing. She's part of you, and you're part of her." Alana nodded slowly, absorbing his words. She could feel the stirrings of something deep within her, a presence that was both familiar and foreign. It was like meeting a stranger who had always been a part of her life. Damon stepped back, watching her with a careful but encouraging gaze. "We'll take it slow. But today, you're going to start listening. You're going to start connecting with your wolf." Alana took another deep breath, this time with more confidence. She closed her eyes again, focusing on the beat of her heart, the rhythm of her breath, and the quiet stirrings within. She reached out mentally, trying to make contact with the wolf that had always been hidden inside her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, just as she was about to give up, she felt it. A soft whisper, a presence, a warmth that was both hers and not hers. She felt the connection, the bond. Her heart raced, and she smiled, her eyes opening. "I felt it," she said, her voice full of awe. Damon smiled, pride in his eyes. "Good. That's the first step. The bond is real, Alana. And now, you've taken the first step toward unlocking your true power." Alana's heart swelled with hope. She was no longer just the Omega, the one who was weak and dismissed. She was something more, something powerful. And with Damon by her side, she knew that she was just beginning to understand the depth of her potential. The days that followed were a whirlwind of change for Alana. With each passing morning, she felt herself becoming more attuned to her wolf, the bond between them growing stronger. Damon kept his promise, guiding her through each step with patience and care. He taught her how to control her newfound strength, how to tap into the power that had always been within her, waiting for the right moment to be unleashed. Alana spent hours in the castle's training grounds, her body and mind pushed to their limits. At first, the process was frustrating. Her movements were awkward, uncoordinated, as she tried to merge her human instincts with the power of her wolf. But Damon was always there, watching, encouraging, never pushing too hard. "Focus on your center," he would say. "Let the power flow from within you, not force it." And slowly, Alana began to understand. She no longer felt like an outsider in her own body. The wolf inside her, once a whisper, now felt like a pulse that ran through her veins, steady and strong. One evening, after a particularly intense training session, Alana sat on the edge of the training ground, her breath heavy but steady. Damon approached her, his expression thoughtful. "You've come a long way," he said, sitting beside her. "But there's still more to learn. The hardest part isn't just mastering your power. It's learning how to control it in the moments when it matters the most." Alana looked at him, her eyes filled with questions. "What do you mean?" she asked. Damon's gaze was intense as he turned to face her. "There will be times when you'll face situations where you'll need to trust your instincts. Where you'll need to fight without hesitation, without second-guessing yourself. The wolf's strength comes from that instinct, pure and untamed." Alana nodded slowly, understanding what he was saying. The more she trained, the more she realized that controlling her power was not just about technique. It was about learning to trust herself. "How do I know when to trust my instincts?" she asked, her voice soft. Damon turned to her, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You'll know," he said, his voice steady. "The moment will come when you need to make a choice. You'll feel it." The next few weeks passed in a blur of training and discovery. Alana's confidence grew with each lesson, but so did the pressure. She wasn't just training to become stronger for herself, she was training to stand by Damon's side, to be his equal. And the more she learned, the more she felt the weight of that responsibility. One afternoon, as they were finishing another session, Damon took her aside. "I've been thinking," he began, his tone more serious than usual. "There's more at stake here than just your training. The bond between us, your power, it's a connection that runs deeper than either of us truly understands." Alana frowned, confusion clouding her thoughts. "What do you mean?" she asked. Damon hesitated, as if weighing his next words carefully. "You've proven yourself, Alana. More than that, you've shown me that you're capable of leading, of standing tall. But there's something else I need you to understand. Your connection to me, to my pack, it's not just about strength. It's about unity. The moment you stepped into this castle, you became a part of something much bigger than yourself." Alana's heart skipped a beat. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Damon met her gaze, his expression unwavering. "I want you to be ready," he said, his voice low and commanding. "Because soon, you'll have to prove your place among the others. They'll test you, Alana. And I need to know that when that moment comes, you won't back down." Alana felt a surge of determination flood through her. She had already come so far, but she knew that Damon was right. The true test was still ahead of her. She stood tall, meeting his gaze with newfound resolve. "I won't back down," she said firmly. Damon smiled, a look of approval in his eyes. "Good," he said, his voice softening. "You're ready." But Alana knew that even with Damon's reassurance, the road ahead would not be easy. There were challenges waiting for her, both within herself and from the pack. She had no illusions about what she was about to face. But for the first time in her life, she felt like she was ready to face them, not as the Omega who had been discarded, but as someone who could stand by Damon's side, as his equal. She wasn't just learning how to control her power, she was learning how to trust herself, how to become the person she was always meant to be. And with Damon's guidance, she knew she could become that person. The next chapter of her journey was waiting. And she would meet it head-on. Days passed, and Alana found herself growing more confident with each passing moment. Damon's lessons continued, and with each one, she felt herself becoming more in tune with the wolf inside her. The bond between them was becoming clearer, stronger, and her understanding of herself deepened in ways she hadn't anticipated. She spent hours each day honing her abilities, learning how to summon and control the energy within her, the power that had once felt like a distant dream. But it wasn't just about power. It was about something more, learning to trust the instincts that came from within, learning to trust herself. Damon watched her closely, observing the changes in her. The raw power she had first shown was now more controlled, more refined. It was a transformation he had hoped for but never expected to come so quickly. Alanna was becoming someone who could stand by his side as an equal, not just as an Omega who had been overlooked. One evening, after a particularly intense training session, Damon led Alanna to the castle's private balcony. The view was breathtaking, the moonlight casting a silver glow over the land below. For a moment, they stood in silence, the only sound the wind rustling through the trees. Alanna took in the view, her heart heavy with the weight of everything she had learned. "You've come so far," Damon said, his voice low, his presence a constant comfort beside her. Alanna looked up at him, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I'm still not sure I fully understand it all," she admitted. "But I'm beginning to." Damon's eyes softened, his gaze never leaving hers. "Understanding is only part of it," he replied. "The other part is accepting who you are. You've spent your whole life hiding from what you could be, Alanna. But now, you're finally learning to embrace it." Alanna's smile faltered slightly, uncertainty creeping in. "What if I can't live up to the expectations? What if I fail?" Damon placed a hand gently on her shoulder, his touch steady and reassuring. "Failure isn't what you should fear. What you should fear is not trying at all. You've already proven your strength, your courage. You've shown that you're capable of so much more than what you were told you could be." Alanna took a deep breath, the weight of his words sinking in. She had always been told she was too weak, too broken to ever amount to anything. But now, standing here beside Damon, she realized how far she had come. She had transformed, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. "I'm not afraid of failing anymore," she said softly, her voice steady. "I'm afraid of not being who I was meant to be." Damon smiled, his pride evident in his eyes. "Then you're ready." Just as the words left his mouth, a distant sound reached their ears, an urgent howl, sharp and powerful, echoing through the night. Alanna's body tensed, her instincts immediately on alert. Damon's expression shifted, his eyes narrowing as he turned toward the sound. "It's time," he said, his voice low and commanding. "The pack needs you." Alanna looked up at him, her heart pounding in her chest. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. Damon turned to face her fully, his gaze intense. "Your training has prepared you for this moment. The time has come for you to prove not just your strength, but your place within this pack. They will test you, Alanna. And when that moment comes, you must stand firm. You must show them who you are." Alanna nodded, her nerves and excitement swirling within her. This was the moment she had been preparing for, the moment when everything would change. She wasn't just an Omega anymore. She was something more, something powerful, something worthy. "I won't back down," she said, her voice strong and steady. Damon's lips curled into a proud smile. "I know you won't. Come." He led her down from the balcony and toward the castle's central courtyard. The pack was gathering, their energy palpable, a mix of curiosity and anticipation hanging in the air. Alanna's heart raced as they approached the center, her nerves on edge, but Damon's steady presence kept her grounded. As they reached the center of the courtyard, the pack members began to form a circle around them, their eyes focused on Alanna. The Alpha King stood tall beside her, his gaze unwavering. "This is your moment, Alanna," Damon said, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "Show them who you are." Alanna felt the energy within her surge, the power of her wolf rising to the surface. She had trained for this, had learned to trust her instincts. And now, it was time to prove herself. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. The moment of truth had arrived, and she would not back down. Alanna stood tall in the center of the courtyard, her heart pounding in her chest as the pack members surrounded her. The energy in the air was thick with anticipation, the wolves' eyes trained on her every move. She could feel their gazes like a weight pressing down on her, but she refused to let it shake her. She had come this far, and now, she would prove herself. Damon stood by her side, his presence a steady anchor in the storm of emotions swirling inside her. He didn't speak, but his silent support was all she needed. Alanna closed her eyes for a moment, drawing in a deep breath, feeling the familiar stirrings of the wolf inside her. The connection between them was stronger than ever, and for the first time, she felt a true bond with the creature within her. It wasn't just power, it was a partnership, a unity that had always been there, waiting for her to embrace it. As she opened her eyes, she saw the pack's alpha step forward, his gaze sharp and calculating. He was older than Damon, his experience written in the lines of his face and the authority in his every movement. He was not the same as Damon. He was a test, a challenge that Alanna had to overcome. You stand here, Alanna, not just as an Omega, but as someone who has claimed the strength of an Alpha, the pack Alpha said. His voice carrying across the courtyard. But strength is not enough. We need to see if you can truly lead, if you can command respect. Alanna's heart raced, but she forced herself to stand tall, to face him with unwavering determination. She had fought for this moment, trained for this moment, and now it was time to show the pack who she really was. I don't seek respect for who I was, she said, her voice steady, though her nerves ran deep. I seek respect for who I am. And I am more than just an Omega. I am a leader. I am strong, and I will fight for what is right. There was a brief silence, the pack members exchanging glances, but Alanna stood firm, her chest rising and falling with each breath. She could feel the challenge in the air, but she also felt something else, the fire of her wolf, the bond that had been growing stronger each day. The pack Alpha's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker of something in his gaze. Very well, he said, stepping back and motioning for two wolves to step forward. If you wish to prove yourself, then show us. Defeat these two, and we will consider your place among us. Alanna's heart beat faster, but she didn't hesitate. She had come this far, and there was no turning back now. The two wolves stepped forward, their bodies large and imposing, their muscles rippling with strength. They were formidable opponents, but Alanna wasn't afraid. She knew what she was capable of. As they lunged toward her, Alanna's instincts took over. She didn't think she moved, her body reacting to the threat with the precision and speed that she had trained for. She dodged the first attack, her body flowing effortlessly, and with one swift move, she landed a powerful blow, sending the first wolf stumbling backward. The second wolf came at her with renewed intensity, but Alanna was ready. She could feel the power surging within her, the wolf within her guiding her movements. She sidestepped his attack, grabbing his arm and using his own momentum to throw him to the ground. The crowd around her gasped, their eyes wide with shock. For a moment, there was silence, but then the pack members began to murmur, their voices rising in approval. Damon's gaze never left her, and for the first time, Alanna saw the pride in his eyes. She had done it. She had proven herself. The pack Alpha stepped forward, his expression unreadable. You have shown strength, he said, his voice carrying authority. But strength alone does not define a leader. It is how you use that strength, how you inspire those around you, that makes you worthy. Alanna nodded, her heart still racing, but her confidence growing. I will inspire, she said, her voice strong. I will lead with honor, with compassion, and with strength. The pack Alpha's lips twitched, as though he were considering her words. Very well, he said, stepping back. You have earned your place here, Alanna. You are no longer just an Omega. You are a wolf. And you will stand with us. The pack erupted into applause, their approval ringing through the courtyard. Alanna felt the weight of their acceptance, but it didn't make her feel small. It made her feel powerful, united with the pack in a way she never had before. Damon stepped forward, his eyes filled with pride. You did it, he said softly, his voice full of warmth. Alanna smiled, feeling the bond between them deepen. This was only the beginning. She had proven herself to the pack, but now, there was more to do. The real journey was just starting, and Alanna was ready to face whatever came next, side by side with Damon and the pack. She was no longer just an Omega. She was a wolf, and she had found her place in the world.